Hello, everybody, and welcome to English at Ease. My name is Adam, and in today's video, we are going to be learning English by hearing some facts about guns in the United States and by asking the question, why do so many people love guns in the United States? Now, in the country where I live, in the United States of America, a lot of people really love guns. Guns are very, very popular in the United States of America. Now, the topic of guns is a very controversial topic in the United States of America. It is very controversial. It is something that a lot of people have different opinions about. A lot of people have differences on what they believe about the topic of guns. In the United States, a lot of people argue about whether or not people should have guns in this country. What I can tell you is that in the United States, although a lot of people do not like guns, although a lot of people disagree with owning guns, a lot of people in the United States really love guns. A lot of people in the United States love guns a lot, and guns are very popular in the United States. Now, one thing that you might not know about guns in the United States is that there are a lot of guns in the United States. There are many guns in the United States. In fact, there are more guns in the United States than in any other country in the entire world. Many people in the United States own guns. And these are not just people that are soldiers. These are not just people in the military. Sometimes when we think about guns, we think about the military. We think about soldiers who fight in war. But a lot of people who are not soldiers also own guns in the United States. We call these people civilians. If somebody is not in the military, we use the term civilian to describe these people. A civilian is somebody who's not a soldier. It's somebody who is not in the military. Many civilians in the United States own guns. In fact, there are more civilian-owned guns in the United States than there are people living in the United States. That means there are more guns in the United States that are owned by civilians, that are owned by people who are not in the military, than the entire population of the United States. There are more guns than people in the United States of America. In fact, there are about 500 million guns in the United States that are owned by civilians, that are owned by the people of the United States. In comparison, there are only about 300 million people in the United States of America. So there are more guns than people in the United States. The guns in the United States outnumber the people. There's more guns than people. Now, the United States of America is the only country like this. There is no other country in the world that has more guns than people. The United States is the only country that has more guns than people. Though you might think, now after hearing this fact, you might think that everyone in the United States has a gun. You might think that all of us own guns because of how many guns there are in the United States. But this would not be true. The number of guns in the United States is mainly brought up, it's mainly increased by certain people who really, really love guns. There are certain people in the United States who consider themselves collectors of guns. A collector is somebody who really loves something and tries to get as many of that thing as they can. So, for example, some people collect playing cards, some people collect coins, and in the United States, a lot of people collect guns. And if you go to these people's houses, they are going to have a lot of guns there. Now, although the number of guns is mainly increased, it's mainly increased by these gun collectors, that doesn't mean that very little people in the United States have guns. It doesn't mean that. In fact, a lot of people in the United States do own at least one gun. About 40% of households own a gun. About 40% of households own at least one gun. A household is like a family. It's a family of people who are all living in one house. Well, about 40% of households own at least one gun. So almost half of American families have at least one gun. It is so common for people to purchase and own guns in the United States that you can actually buy guns in supermarkets. You can buy guns in these stores where people go to buy food and to buy other products. You can buy guns in those supermarkets. The most famous, the biggest, and the most successful supermarket in the United States is called Walmart. If you've never been to Walmart before and you come to the United States, you should come to Walmart because it is very cool to see. It is a huge store that sells a lot of different stuff. They sell food, they sell furniture for your home, they sell stuff like TVs and computers, but in a lot of Walmarts, they also sell guns. You can go to a Walmart and you can purchase, you can buy a gun. Now, this is not the case in every part of the United States. Where I live in the state of California, you cannot buy guns at Walmarts anymore. They don't sell guns in the Walmarts in California. But in other states where guns are more popular, where people like guns a little bit more, you can go to these states and you can buy a gun inside of a Walmart, inside one of these supermarkets. Now, like I said before, the topic of guns in the United States is a very controversial one. It's a topic that a lot of people have different opinions about. A lot of people disagree and argue about guns in the United States. Some people believe that we shouldn't own guns in the United States. They believe it shouldn't be allowed. Still, other people believe that we should be allowed to own guns in the United States. Now, some people also believe that we should be allowed to own guns, but that there should be more restrictions on owning guns. They believe that certain types of guns should not be allowed and other types of guns should be allowed. So there are many different opinions about this topic. And to understand why this is such a controversial question, you need to understand that in the United States, there is a lot of gun violence. There is a lot of violence that comes from guns. There are a lot of people that die from guns in the United States. It is very sad how many people in the United States die from guns. In fact, there are more gun deaths. There are more people that die from guns in the United States than in every other country in the entire world. For this reason, a lot of people say that we shouldn't own guns. For somebody who doesn't live in the United States, it might be a little bit more difficult to understand why this question is talked about so much in the United States. It might be difficult to understand why so many people love guns in the United States in the first place. Now, there are many different reasons why a lot of people in the United States really love guns. There are a lot of reasons why guns are so popular in the United States. One of the reasons why people love guns so much in the United States comes from the history of our country. The United States is a country that gained its independence. It gained its freedom through war, through fighting a war with England, with the British Empire. In order to fight this war, a lot of people in America had to fight with guns that they had purchased. A lot of people used their guns that they had purchased to fight against the British Army. One of the reasons why the United States was able to become independent, one of the reasons why we were able to defeat the British in this war, in this revolution, is because a lot of people in the United States own guns and were able to use those guns to beat the British. So after the Revolutionary War, a lot of people started to have a very positive view of guns. A lot of people really liked guns. Now, people at the time who were very happy, they were very happy that they had just gotten their freedom, that they had just become independent, were very worried. They were very scared that they might lose their freedoms again. They didn't want to lose their freedoms. They didn't want a new king to take over and to rule over them. For this reason, a lot of people started to purchase more guns. They wanted to own guns in case somebody ever took over and ruled the United States and tried to take away their freedoms. For this reason, the right to own guns became one of the most important rights in the United States. It became one of the earliest rights that we received in the United States. If you don't know the term right, a right is basically something that nobody can take away from you. So, for example, if you have the right to say whatever you want, if you have the right to say your opinions, that means when you say your opinions, nobody can tell you you are not allowed to do that. Nobody can tell you you are going to prison for saying your opinions. Doesn't matter if that person is a police officer or if that person is the president. It does not matter. If you have the right, then nobody can tell you you can't do that. So very early on in the history of the United States, we received the right to own guns. We received the right to have guns. This is our Second Amendment. It was the second right that was written in our Constitution. Our Constitution is an important document that talks about how our country is supposed to be run. So for this reason, a lot of people believe that that right should never be taken away. They believe that we should always be allowed to have guns. To a lot of people living in the United States, owning guns is a big part of our history. Now, there are also other reasons why some people like to own guns in the United States. Some people own guns for protection, to protect themselves and their families if somebody tries to hurt them, or if somebody tries to break into their home and steal stuff. Some people want to own guns to protect themselves. Other people want to own guns to be able to hunt, to be able to kill animals, to hunt. So there are a lot of different reasons why a lot of people in the United States really love guns. There are a lot of reasons for this. Now, this is a very controversial question, and a lot of people have different opinions on this question. So I have given you the facts. I am not telling you whether or not we should own guns. I am not going to tell you whether or not we should own guns in the United States. But that is for you to decide. You can have your own opinions about this question. I just wanted to share some of these facts with you so you can know a little bit more about the United States of America. Now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got some good English listening practice from this video. For more videos like this one, and to listen to English spoken in a slow, clear, and simple way, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching.